keep doing it just like we were fifth graders. And you'd think I'd learn and let him go first. Don's sense of humor never stopped, even if he was his own target. I remember 2 fairs ago, he worked the morning shift, and I had come in about 1 o'clock, and it was about shift change about 3 o'clock. And we were up in the office together, and Don was wearing a plaid shirt, khaki pants, these like deck shoes, walking shoes. He had a visor on, and of course his hair is so stylishly done over the top of the visor. And he had his canvas bag that he had over his shoulder with all his paperwork and everything in it. And we're about to do shift change. He goes into the bathroom, washes his face, his hands, and he comes out, and he walks up to me and goes, "I hate you." And I said, "What did I do?" He goes, "You let me walk around all day looking like a 50-year-old lesbian." Share happened a few months ago when Don was in the hospital and was in and out of consciousness. It was a day he had a pretty rough day, and he had coded a couple of times, and Paris texted me and said, "Can you and Michael get out here right away?" And this was in the afternoon about 1 o'clock. And so I was at work, and I called Michael, and I said, I'll pick you up in 15 minutes, and I told work I'm leaving, and I'm going to Palm Springs. We got in the car, and by the time of traffic, at the time we had got there, Don had stabilized, and we told Paris where we were, and Paris said he and Robbie were going to leave and go have dinner. So Michael and I got there, and we sat with Don, and he was just non-responsive. And we had been there a couple of weeks before that, and we were getting squeezes on the arm, and and Paris kept telling us, he's there, he's in there, you gotta just talk to him, he can hear you. And so Michael and I were sitting there, and we were telling him about college times, and trying to just talk about anything we could think of. And finally, we'd been there about 45 minutes, and I had his right hand, and I hadn't even gotten a squeeze, I hadn't got a twitch. And I finally turned to him and I said, "Don, look, you've got to do this. You've got to do this by yourself. Nobody can do this." And I said, "You fought harder things. You can come out of this." And I said, "Open your eyes for me." And he opened his eyes. And Michael was all, "Oh!" And then we started talking to him, and we were asking him, if you can hear us, blink your eyes twice. And sure enough. And so we started to communicate. And then Paris and Robbie came back from dinner, and when he heard Paris's voice, he just lit up. It was a moment I'll never forget. And Paris said, "I told you guys, I told you. And the doctors wanted me to turn everything off today, and blah, 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 blah." And he was telling Don about it, and he was asking Don to count for us. And Don was counting with his fingers like this. And I had noticed while I was holding his hand, Don was playing with his middle finger. And Paris told him what the doctors wanted to do. And all of a sudden, in typical Don fashion, Don lifted his right arm up with all those things plugged into him and just went like this. Words can't describe the sorrow and loss I feel for my friend Don. But I know that he's in a much better place. He's out of pain, and he's happy. And I know that when he ascended that staircase into heaven, he made a farting step every step. And if all of you listen carefully enough, you might just hear an angelic chorus singing a wonderful show tune with Don accompanying them on a gold piano. Don, I love you in this.
Another wonderful friend, Mr. Michael Lopez.
All right, kids. Well, I've written nothing. Which could be really good or could be really bad. So, here's the thing. just like all of you, I just love Don Cloud to pieces. You know, and even though he's passed on, I still love him. That love will go on forever. And I'm trying to think, what am I going to say? What the hell am I going to say? Shut up. And the thing is that there's just so much to say about Don Cloud, right? And we all have so many stories, and I'm listening to all these people and all you freaks that were dancing. What the hell is that girl with the blue dress? That was good stuff. Okay, my table and I, we laughed hard for that. And the one that rolled across the stage, got up, her booty was showing, that was good stuff. Anyways, it was good stuff. But you guys, listen, this is the only thing, my experience with Don has been, well, first of all, before I say anything, okay, I just have to say for Ben Bollinger, who is one of the dearest people in my life, he wanted you to know how much he loves Don and how much Don meant to him. But Ben Bollinger, God bless his heart, he's just a big old crybaby. And he just knew he was going to lose it up here. So I'm here to tell you for him how much he loved Don. Well, good Lord, now I'm going to cry. And how much he appreciated Don. And so that's Ben. Ben loved Don very, very much. So let's get it. My experience with Don is, you know, it's so funny because I knew him since college as well, but I didn't know him as well as I knew him just recently. I've worked with Don many times. He's musical directed many shows I've been in, and that's how I began to know John well after college, and just loved him to pieces. The funniest guy, one of the funniest guys I've ever known. But recently, about 2 years ago, David Aldretti comes to me and tells me, by the way, the guy that was just here, David Aldretti, I'm the Michael he was talking about. So Michael this, Michael that. So that's me. Anyway, he comes to me one day and tells me that Don needs a place to stay. And kids, I've been single for a long ass time. And I don't need someone else trolling around my house with me, right? So I'm thinking, oh God, David, why did you say something? God. So then one day it occurs to me, hello, Don Cloud is a very dear friend of mine. Of course I'll take him in. You know, he needs a place to stay for a couple months. Because something happened with some lesbians. Do you guys know lesbians? They backed out on him to move into someplace else. So what can I do? A couple lesbians backed out, I gotta show up. So, right? So I showed up, reluctantly. And so Don comes to my house and he lives with me. It's right around September, which is crazy September fair time. They're just like, do you work at the fair or something? Okay, well, it's crazy time for fair people. So, Pomona Valley Fair. So he's got to live. So he comes and he lives with me. And it is the most joyous time of my life. Because Don is crazy ass, okay? Oh my God, he was so much fun. And back then I used to smoke, and he used to come over. When he would get home, first, we didn't even have to speak. He would just come home, and boom, our little routine would start, and I would get ready, we'd go outside to the backyard, and we'd sit on the little chairs that I had bought, and we would sit there and smoke a couple cigarettes, and laugh, and talk, and have the best time, and one day, Don just fell through the chair. The another 2 hours just talking and laughing. That's one of the nicest memories I have. So anyways, we used to do that, and then almost every day, especially during, only during September when the fair is on, Paris would come over. Paris. Now see, I didn't know Paris that well until now. I mean, I knew Paris because I met him one day out in the quad over here, and I remember thinking, okay, you know, Don. So I meet Paris, you know, whatever, so it's cute, he's nice. And then Don lives with me, all right? And then Paris was working at the fair. And so Paris would come home every night to my house to be with us, and he would have some kind of fried food. Because, you know, the fair is about fried food. And he would come home with, or we could call it, Don would call and say, Paris, bring home bacon, or chocolate-covered bacon. Have you ever had chocolate-covered bacon? All right, bitches, you gotta have some. That is good stuff. Paris brought it home. Oh, we worked it. It was, so much fun. And one time, Don said, have you guys ever heard of the Alibi in Pomona? Be careful if you say yes, I'll know about you. Don says to me, let's go to the Alibi. All right. So we put on our clothes and we go to the Well, look, if you laugh like that, I gotta at least know who you are. We go to the Alibi, and Don, precious Don, we go to the Alibi, and we're sitting there at the bar, and we're drinking. By the way, I've had a couple cocktails in honor of Don tonight. Okay, just this little side note. I was talking to someone out in that quad over there, and I was saying, you know, God, Don, when Don passed away, I've had time between then and now to just have some healing and get over that, you know? And then I get here and I get my cocktail on, and it's like, where the hell is Don? Oh my God, he would love this, you guys. He would love this right now. Right? Okay, so then we go to the Alibi, and I've never been to the Alibi. I've passed it many, many times. And Don and I go in, and Don tells me all about it. Apparently he knows the bartender. So the bartender's all nice to us and giving us drinks and stuff. And next thing you know, Don and I are sitting there at this bar, and we are the queens of the ball. And strangers are coming up to us and telling us their life stories and telling us this and telling us that. And I look over at Don and I think to myself, only with Don. And I just want to say, if I can do it without crying, which I'm sure I can, that Don, I love you with all my heart. I miss you so much, and all of us are here are for you, Don, because we love you so much, and all of you are a tribute to John, and to Don. Don. We love you, Don. Thank you so much for being such an important part of all of our lives. Thank you.
Drink to that, That's great. A great trait of Don was that he was brutally honest, as most of you know. On one occasion, I was having voice lessons with a certain voice teacher named Janice Lee. Maybe you've heard of her. She's really good. Really good. Anyway, Janice was telling me a story. You know, because voice lesson, you have your half hour or hour, whatever you're paying for at the time. Anyway, Jan was talking to me, and then it just got into this big story that she wanted to know and talk about and gossip about. And then finally, Don chimes in. He says, "For corn's sake, Jan, would you shut the hell up?" You know, okay, then she did, and we sang on. Next up, we have a wonderful friend of Don's who, I don't know if it's the first time that she worked with him was perhaps a show called Women at Work. And it was a show about working women and women who work. And it was, yeah, it was. This lovely lady, Lisa Donahue, and this other lady, it was a two-woman act, and they sang woman songs about women and Hear Us Roar. It was really good. Anyway, Don was in charge of that and proud of that, and here tonight is that woman, Lisa Donahue.
To mention that it was for the National Association of Women in Construction. Lesbians. I got in touch with my own lesbian. Dawn set me up, had my flannel shirt on, and work boots. I looked hot. No, anyway. But, Don Cloud is such an amazing man. You know, he had the uncanny knack. You wouldn't see him. I've known him over 20 years. And you'd walk into an audition or a show or Rayo Day's wonderful Christmas parties, and there he would be, and it was just like my little whoopee, my little security blanket. So I'm so grateful for that. There is a program change tonight, just so you know. I will not be singing Defying Gravity. Anyone can sing that. I've turned into a bass all of a sudden as I was sitting out there. But you know what, Don and I shared a lot of things. Love of music, of life, of friends, all of you, of piano playing. Actually, he was the piano player. I just turned the pages, but I was really good. But you know, we also had another passion that I don't know if you all know about. But I know he was incredibly energetic about this, and I would like to share this with you tonight. Animals are people too. What did that chicken ever do to you to deserve to be served like that? Tied up on a platter, think about the life you take. Each time you cut into a big fat steak, only a meanie eats of your scallopini. Do you want to live your life like that? No, you can live without veal parmesan, beef bourguignon, chicken tarragon. Give up filet mignon. Life will still be sweet if you give up meat. It's easy. You and I can give up something except bacon. Bacon Dawn, Bacon Dawn, fried heaven in a pan. Bacon with chocolate, the taste, the touch, the smell of bacon. I kill a porker with my own hands just to get a strip of bacon. Tomatoes can be nice, sliced with mozzarella with some pesto on the side. Very tasty. Or try eggplant. You can stream it or stuff the thing with rice, right? Very nice. Or there's pasta, right? Penne with pasta is an interesting dish. Just hold the vodka or try spinach. You can steam it or bake it in a pie, right? All the choices. Oh, spinach salad. How about a spinach salad? Delicious, nutritious, low calorie too. But if you want a spinach salad, a really tasty spinach salad, you and I both know just what you gotta do. You gotta top it with some bacon. I love bacon. Fried like heaven in a pan. Bacon, it drives me nuts, the smell of bacon. I chew the head right off the 10-pound ham just to get a strip of bacon.
Tom Gomez was going to speak, but I am happy to be up here to speak a letter from Stephen Dwyer, his beautiful partner, and I'm going to read this for you now. When Paris asked me to write something for this incredible life celebration, putting pen to paper for Don was truly an honor. For a man who lived his life to the fullest, Don touched so many, not just those who were fortunate enough to be taught by him, or all of those he entertained, but also everyone he came in contact with. To say we were blessed to have him in our lives would be an understatement. Don was such a pleasure to be around. He always appeared to have such a joyful yet calming presence about him. As I reflect over the years spent knowing Don, I can honestly say I don't recall a time I ever saw him angry. All I can recall is that he lived for the moment, the day, the good times and fun times. Don, Michael Foster, Nick Patty, and I used to be roommates, and it was Don that was always the calm, level-headed one between us queens. That's in bold text. Between us queens who used to get in a frenzy. But we had a great time together, from working on shows at Chaffey College, to limo rides down to the Boom Boom Room in Laguna Beach. In fact, on one of those fun trips to the Boom Boom Room in Laguna Beach, Don informed me that he was HIV positive. And back then, I thought this was a death sentence and all I could do was cry. But that was over 21 years ago. Way to hang in there, my friend. Don was actually the reason my partner of 20 years, Tom, and I met. Don had to deliver sheet music to this friend, Jeff, and Don and I were roommates at the time. I tagged along for the ride. Little did I know that ride would bring Tom into my life. So thank you, Don. Like most of you, we have some great memories of Don in this very theater. Christmas was when we seemed to spend the most time together. It would be at Christmas Eve here at the Candlelight when, during the Candlelight show, and then the day after Christmas, we would celebrate an English holiday at our home known as Boxing Day. It's a fun day. In fact, it became a standing joke in our home that Don was not allowed to drink anything red. You see, our home was white from floor to ceiling, and Don would always drop his drink, inevitably a red one, every year without fail. Well, my friend, you are welcome to come down from heaven and drop as many drinks as you would like, because we just put in hardwood floors. So now you are in a place where your talent and spirit can soar, and you can make sure all those angels stay in tune. Don, for all the talent you have inspired, for all of the people you have entertained, for all of the wonderful friendships you have made, and for all of the great times we had together, you will be in our hearts and souls forever. We love you. And next up, we have a beautiful young singer, Kitty.
Hi, my name is Kitty Ahmet. I knew Don from the Grove Theater for, I guess, 4 years. He used to be my voice teacher, and one of the songs that we worked on together was Meadowlark. And Don always used to tell me that every time I sing a song, no matter how depressing it is, there's always hope, and to always look for hope in a song. And so, with this song, we practice that. So, here it goes.